The Lazy Farmer. In the heart of a lush valley, surrounded by golden fields and rolling hills, lay the village of Greenfield. The villagers were hard-working and took pride in their bountiful harvests. But among them lived a farmer named Tom, who was known far and wide as the laziest man in the valley. Tom's farm was a sorry sight. His fields were overgrown with weeds, his fences were falling apart, and his barn was on the verge of collapse. While his neighbors rose at dawn to tend to their crops and animals, Tom slept until midday, lounging in his hammock and dreaming of a life of ease. The villagers often shook their heads at Tom's laziness. "He'll never amount to anything," they muttered. "What a waste of good land." But Tom didn't care. He was content with his lazy ways, or so he thought, until one day his life took an unexpected turn. The stranger's offer. One sunny afternoon, as Tom dozed in his hammock, a stranger appeared at his gate. The man was tall and thin, with sharp features and a sly smile. He wore a black coat that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight, and his eyes gleamed with an unnatural light. "Good day, farmer," the stranger said, his voice smooth as silk. "I couldn't help but notice your fields. They're unique." Tom sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Who are you?" "A traveler," the man replied. "But I'm also a man of business. I have a proposition for you." Tom raised an eyebrow. "What kind of proposition?" The stranger stepped closer, his smile widening. "I can make your life easier. No more toiling in the fields, no more worrying about the harvest. All I ask in return is a small favor." Tom's interest was piqued. "Go on." The stranger explained that he could provide Tom with a magical tool, a plow that would work the fields on its own. It would sow the seeds, tend to crops, and even harvest them when the time came. All Tom had to do was sit back and enjoy the fruits of his labor. "What's the catch?" Tom asked, though he was already imagining the life of leisure he could lead. The stranger's smile turned sly. "No catch, just a simple agreement. You'll give me a portion of your harvest each year, say half, and the plow is yours." Tom hesitated. Half his harvest was a steep price, but the thought of never having to work again was too tempting to resist. "Deal," he said, shaking the stranger's hand. The magic plow. The next morning, Tom awoke to find a magic plow waiting in his field. It was a strange contraption, made of gleaming metal and adorned with intricate carvings. As soon as Tom gave it a command, it sprang to life, tilling the soil with incredible speed and precision. Tom watched in amazement as the plow worked tirelessly, transforming his overgrown fields into neat rows of crops. By the end of the day, his farm looked better than it had in years. Word of Tom's miraculous plow spread quickly through the village. The neighbors were envious, but Tom didn't care. He was too busy enjoying his newfound freedom. He spent his days lounging in his hammock, eating fresh fruit from his orchard, and napping in the shade. For the first time in his life, Tom was truly happy. But his happiness was short-lived. The price of laziness. As the weeks passed, Tom began to notice something strange. The plow worked faster and faster, but the crops it produced were different. The wheat was unnaturally tall, the corn was an odd shade of purple, and the apples from his orchard had a bitter taste. At first, Tom dismissed these changes. "Who cares what it looks like?" he thought. "As long as it grows, I'm happy." But then the villagers started to complain. The bread made from Tom's wheat was hard and tasteless. The corn made people sick, and the apples caused strange dreams. No one wanted to buy his produce, and Tom's income dwindled. Worse still, the plow began to demand more and more of his harvest. At first, it was half as agreed. Then it was 2/3. Then 3/4. Tom tried to argue, but the plow wouldn't listen. It was as if it had a mind of its own. The strangers returned. One evening, as Tom sat in his empty barn, the stranger returned. His smile was as sly as ever, but his eyes gleamed with a cruel light. "Having trouble, farmer?" he asked. Tom glared at him. "You tricked me. This plow is a curse." The stranger chuckled. "A curse? No. It's exactly what you asked for, a tool to do your work for you. But you see, nothing in life comes without a price. You wanted an easy life, and now you have it. But at what cost?" Tom's heart sank. He realized too late that he had been foolish. He had traded his hard work and self-respect for a life of ease, and now he was paying the price. The turning point. Determined to set things right, Tom decided to take matters into his own hands. He woke up early the next morning and went to his fields. The plow was already at work, but Tom grabbed a shovel and began to dig. At first, the plow resisted, moving faster and faster to outpace him. But Tom refused to give up. He worked tirelessly, sweat pouring down his face as he uprooted the strange crops and replanted them with seeds from his neighbors. The plow grew angrier, its metal gears grinding and sparks flying. But Tom stood his ground, shouting, "This is my land, and I'll work it the way I see fit." Finally, with a loud crack, the plow broke apart, its pieces scattering across the field. The stranger's magic was broken. A new beginning. Tom's farm was in shambles, but he didn't care. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of pride. He had worked hard, and though the road ahead would be difficult, he knew he could rebuild. The villagers, impressed by Tom's determination, offered to help. Together, they cleared the fields, repaired the fences, and planted new crops. Tom worked alongside them, his hands calloused but his spirit strong. As the seasons passed, Tom's farm flourished. The crops were healthy, the animals were well fed, and the barn was sturdy once more. Tom was no longer the lazy farmer. He was a man who had learned the value of hard work. The lesson. One evening, as Tom sat on his porch, watching the sun set over his fields, he thought about the stranger and the magic plow. He realized that the man had been right about one thing. Nothing in life comes without a price. But the price of laziness was far greater than the price of hard work. Tom smiled, content with his life. He had learned his lesson, and he knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would face them with determination and pride. And so, the lazy farmer became a symbol of redemption in Greenfield, a reminder that even the most hopeless among us can change, if only we're willing to put in the effort.